The style of pizza that I make is rooted in Neapolitan, but it definitely has evolved over 27 years. I started making pizza when I'm 15, and I'm 51. This is a life's work. I use a lot of different flours. Today we're gonna use some of this flour from north of Italy. I'm constantly changing my techniques. The idea's set on where I'm trying to go, but the recipe is changing. The flour percentage mixtures. I mix a lot of different flours every day. So here's the mother, the madre. I have a starter, a mother. In Italian it's called a madre, and that's just flour and water, and we refresh that every 12 hours. This is what's gonna make the flour and water become pizza. This is what helps raise it. You can see it's super healthy. Look at that dough structure in there. Those starters evolve into becoming wherever they live. It's alive and it's always changing. Now it's starting to settle, so we're losing it. You can see it's kind of now sticking together. Now that we've gone into it, we made it collapse. So this needs to be refreshed for tomorrow. This is gonna go in the dough. This is gonna get mixed throughout the raw flour, and then we're gonna add water, and those three things together will start to spread around and create the gluten. Right now, all we've been using is New York tap water, unfiltered. The water's important, but it's also a little bit of a myth where people are like, oh, New York bagels, all this, all that. There's so many other components. The water is definitely a part of it, but it's only one part of it. This is Sicilian sea salt. It's the only salt that I've been using for 27 years. If you add this in the beginning of the dough, it doesn't come out the same way. The secret is to add more water in like the last 5 minutes of the mix. For many years, no pizza makers were doing this. This is rooted in ancient French bread baking techniques. I spent like my youth reading every single book I could about baking, and there weren't really any great books about pizza making then, so I was reading books about bread baking and French bread baking and Italian bread baking, creating my own techniques on what I thought would make the most awesome dough. Look at how wet this dough is, look at this. Using dough this hydrated and then not putting it in a refrigerator really makes it very sticky, it's very temperamental, but I think when it works, that's where some of the magic lies in what we do here. I started trying to make naturally leavened bread and dough since the beginning, like when I was like, probably 12 or 13 years old. I had been going to Naples with my family. I fell in love with it. It's where my family's from. I had never tasted anything like it in America because the ones in Naples were so different in taste that I just was like, oh my God, I have to figure out a way to make this. I've had this same scale since I started. Yeah, it's like duct taped together. And now I'm cutting and weighing it. I just started to go to Italy and just be obsessed with it, with every detail. And I grew up in an era where there was no internet, and so there was no, everything you wanted to learn, you had to read and you had to research. I used to have all these photographs on my wall of me with like my mom, with like different pizza makers in Naples. People were like secretive about stuff, and that also was something that turned me on about it, I don't know, I just started slowly becoming like obsessed with baking all day, all night at home, and eating bread like a maniac. So this is the folding. Is another old kind of baking technique where you fold the dough over to kind of stall it for a second before I go back then and ball all of them into the actual shape. It's easy to make one good pizza, but do it day after day, year after year. I mean, I still make every single dough ball in the restaurant, 27 years of being in business. Every day it's slightly different. You constantly have to be aware and paying attention to what it needs. They need different things to still come out good and sort of be consistent from when we started to the end. So it's muscle memory, but it's also really being present and being aware. I think what's so intimate about making pizza is that every day you can just like do one little thing and you have a completely different product. To get to be in a place where you understand those micros that go from this is a good pizza to this is magic is years and years of work. So these guys we're gonna let live somewhere to raise for us. After we dump out what we need to make the pizza for the evening, we leave some mother starter left. Now I'm gonna refresh that with more flour and water. Right now it's on a cycle of about every 12 hours, and then I'm gonna add some fresh water, and I'm gonna break up the mother that's in there. You see there it is there. This is like partially what's gonna give like everybody their own, you know, beautiful, unique taste to their product. The natural sugar that's in wheat, and the protein, and then the water is the catalyst that kind of makes it all come together and work. Now it's gonna sit here at room temp for about 12 hours. Here it is. And then in 12 hours, it'll hopefully be here. Maybe not, and then we have a problem. You never really know. There is an element to this that's always kind of like, dear God, I hope it works. All the old bread, when they would have it proofing, they would cut the crust in it with the razor blade. That was to let the gas escape, but also they did it in the sign of the crust for good luck. So I'm definitely superstitious. I mean, you know, I got it all over the place. Anything we can do for a little good luck. We just got our buffalo mozzarella for the week. We're the biggest purchaser of buffalo mozzarella in the whole city. I've been using this mozzarella from this family outside of Naples for 25 years. For me, on pizza, the way that buffalo mozzarella melts and the flavor profile is second to none. If all we have on a pizza is tomatoes, basil, garlic, and mozzarella and olive oil, all of them need to be as good as they can be, or you're gonna see if there's a weak link in that mix. The base sauce that we use a San Marzano from a can. There's a flavor that only is found grown in San Marzano. It's not overly sweet, it's more acidic. We drain all of our San Marzanos. I only want to use the tomato. This brand, Casa Marazzo, the area that they can grow these tomatoes in is so small, just south of Naples. The ground there is very rich because of the volcanic soil from Vesuvius, and they also don't overwater the product. Some of the reasons why the tomato has such an incredible flavor. And then we take the ends off, and it's just another step to try to make things as good as we can. How do we get this tomato to be as close to a fresh summer taste experience as possible? This is all you need to do. You just drain them, cut the ends off, and go like this. And here's your tomato sauce for pizza. The less that things are manipulated, the better they taste. This oven is made in Naples. They're handmade. This is called an acunto. Every little inch inside that oven makes the pizza cook differently. You see the interior is all white. Tomorrow when we start the oven back up, as soon as we start the oven, it's gonna get covered in soot. So then what you do is you fire the oven until the interior is white. Once it burns all the soot off, then you know that it's hot enough to cook in. That was like a really, really ancient technique. That's how you would do it because they didn't have thermostats. So then we keep the fire going in the center like that, and then little by little we move it over. We always have the fire on the left side. These ovens were designed basically like, you know, over 2,000 years ago, and they still are incredible. Like there's nothing to change on them, they're perfect. What we're using at Una right now is, I would say 70% oak, and the rest is a mix of birch, apple, cherry, maple. The wood doesn't really add that much flavor to it because the flame and the smoke kind of circulate like this, which is what you want it to do, but it always stays like this high above the floor. It's not like we're smoking it. The main thing for me with the wood choice is finding wood that burns really good. As years have gone on and the dough gets more hydration, I have to cook it a little bit slower each time. Here's the dough. how much bigger these have gotten. Very delicate to work with, you see. Oh my God, these are so light. This dough today that we made is super, super easy to open and super loose. I mean, look at that. It's basically raising and adjusting itself as it's sitting there before I even top it. I'm gonna make us a margarita. So we're using the San Marzano tomatoes. We like to have everything equally balanced and every flavor to come through. And then some coarse sea salt, some fresh basil, olive oil, so this is the shavings, something that's very, very actually traditional, only in the city of Naples. You don't want to like add wood every time you bake pizza because then you're going to overheat the oven. It gives a big burst of temperature, a big burst of flame, but it's only for a few seconds. It's making pizza the way we do it is such a fleeting moment of happiness and perfection. And the more you do it, the more you're aware of all the imperfections in it. And so there's this constant, like, the next shot is gonna be maybe the one that's like gonna make me feel like, woo, we did it. Pushing it too far and then we end up with a dough that's too wet or it's ripping or it's baking wrong because it's so hydrated. But when it works and it comes out the way it should, I think that's what creates the special taste that we have here. There's the crust. Look at the inside. It's a good one today. So this time I'll do a Pelletteri, another one of our pizzas that we've been doing for years. This one is buffalo mozzarella, fresh garlic, our house olive oil, and there it goes. It's very rhythmic making pizza. The micro adjustments that make it magical are all rhythmic. Just these tiny, tiny little things that go from being okay to great. The only way there's oxygen going into this baking area is through this little mouth opening. Occasionally going like this keeps pushing up the fire a little bit. You're like forcing air underneath the wood and you're getting it to light up more. The balance that we're always looking for is to not overheat the oven, but ride right at that line. We need the floor to be hot, we need the air to be hot, we need the wall to be hot, and we need an actual flame burning, which puts some of the char marks around the dough. So it's just this constant like variation that we're riding through. This is the one that I love probably the most. And it's the Kosaka, the one that allows the beauty of the tomato and the dough to come through. A nice amount of sauce. This spoon was my grandmother's, and every single pizza that I've made since I'm 15 years old has been made with this spoon. Some coarse sea salt and fresh basil. I've been making dough throughout every part of my life. I've been married, divorced, had a child, both parents passed away, and the one consistency through that life to this point is that every week you know where I'll be. This is where I feel my best and what my purpose in life is. So this one just gets pecorino romano. This is my favorite pizza. This is what I would feed a newborn baby. Or myself, which I'm kind of like a baby. My goal is not to open 10 restaurants. My goal is to have one restaurant and keep making it better and better and better. If you spend 30 years of your life doing something, you're gonna start to find your own voice within that. It's like a real gift in a sense to be like doing the same work for 30 years and be like, this is so exciting. I can't wait to try to make today better. Because I'm not stopping. I'm gonna keep fighting to be good till I drop dead.